Choosing silence to avoid an argument often creates a backlog of internal stress. Over time, these unaddressed issues compound. You find yourself managing the original problem, the tension of holding it in, and the friction that arises when that pressure finally leaks out. This is the mechanism of conflict creep. When we fight over small things, like a missed call or a chores list, the intensity of our reaction rarely matches the event itself. This happens because the brain isn't processing a logistical disagreement, it's reacting to a perceived threat. Those threats generally come from two directions. There is the threat of too much closeness, where a person's volume or physical presence feels like an intrusion, and there is the threat of too much distance, where silence or withdrawal feels like a precursor to abandonment. Once we view these moments as physical defense responses, we can stop litigating the surface issue and start addressing the underlying feeling of being unsafe. Our adult defense systems are built on a relational blueprint, a set of internal rules formed by our earliest experiences with caregivers. This blueprint determines how we interpret closeness and distance for the rest of our lives. A secure blueprint requires 4 specific conditions to be met in childhood. You have to feel safe, you have to feel seen, supported during your challenges, and soothed when in distress. When those needs aren't met, we adopt one of 4 default coping mechanisms to manage conflict. We might posture by attacking, collapse by taking on all the blame, seek by anxiously chasing connection, or avoid by creating even more distance. Reaching 0, a state of genuine connection, requires us to identify which of these 4 automatic reactions we use so we can consciously choose a different path. To move past these reactions, we use the conflict box. The first 5 rows document the facts of the friction: who, what, and how intense your feelings are. Row 6 is the pivot point. Here, you document your behavior and take ownership of your part in the cycle. This process is often uncomfortable. To stay present during the friction, you can use the Nestor meditation. Number the intensity, name the emotion, identify the physical sensations, observe your thinking, and find a grounded place in your body to feel resourced. By stabilizing your own internal state first, you ensure that when you finally do speak, you are communicating from a place of clarity rather than reactivity. When it's time to engage, the first step is LUFU. Listen until they feel understood. The goal here isn't to agree, but to prove you have accurately received their message. This involves moving from a defensive stance to one of curiosity. You repeat back what you've heard and validate their perspective by saying, "That makes sense," confirming you understand how they arrived at their conclusion, even if you see it differently. Once the other person confirms they feel understood, you move to the speaking phase using the SHORE framework. Speak honestly with ownership to repair empathetically. Using SHORE means focusing on I statements to describe the impact of a behavior. By explaining how you feel rather than accusing the other person of what they did, you reduce the chance of triggering their defense system. This wheel helps identify the specific nature of the fight. Most conflicts stem from 5 archetypes: surface disagreements, projections of past experiences, security concerns about the relationship, differences in core values, or resentments over unmet expectations. Using these structured frameworks provides a predictable path through the emotional spikes of a disagreement. It gives both parties a way to move toward a resolution, even when the instinct is to walk away. These same mechanics apply to professional environments. High-stakes relationships in a business or a team rely on the same cycle of connection, disconnection, and repair. Leaders can use these tools to create psychological safety. By modeling how to listen and take ownership, they prevent the small frictions that lead to team collapse. However, organizations often fail here by relying on shortcuts, like rushed apologies that don't address the problem, or a culture of blaming external factors rather than examining internal behavior. A more effective strategy is the use of proactive agreements. By establishing clear operating norms before a crisis occurs, you set a baseline that helps everyone return to 0 faster when things get tense. Conflict is an unavoidable part of any meaningful relationship. By learning the mechanics of repair, we ensure that disagreements become opportunities for deeper connection
rather than permanent roadblocks in our lives and our work.